Good morning. My name is Atasieā, and this is my weekly Instagram live channeling and guided meditation session for anyone who feels called to listen. All right, so I'm going to give a moment for people to tune in, for people to join the Instagram live. Hey, good morning, Ray. And invite you all to smudge, collect your belongings, things that help you get grounded and centered as I do the same thing. Grabbing my little crystals here. Good morning, Kia and Ray and everyone. Take a moment to get into your flow of how your body is going to feel best aligned to be seated or lying down or whatever you need. I need some back support, so I'm going to grab a pillow here. Great. So we're going to go ahead and begin. With a prayer, just asking for the space that we are each in little fractals of this larger being, the creator, the creatrix within and throughout all things, to just be sanctified today as we come into a space to align with each other and also ask for guidance for our individual journeys today and also for just our collective soul, family, group of people, just pushing through life, having the feelings, moving through all the different layers of what it means to be multidimensional human beings, animals and bodies and spirits incarnating. We just ask for the spirit of love and the divine nature that really transcends all limitations to envelop us and to hold space for a really beautiful meditation this morning. We honor the 7 directions: north, south, east, west, above, below, and within. Just ask for these directions to be purified, for the energy of the earth and the waters, the fires, the airs, and the ether to join us, for the divine masculine, divine feminine, the divine child, androgyne child that holds both energies of masculine and feminine, and the elder spirit, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the wise crone, just calling that energy into the space and calling in the vertical connection to source, the unity consciousness grid, Christ consciousness, that unconditional love that transcends duality and polarity. Asking for that sacred energy to flow into the space and enter into each of our hearts, anchoring through our energy fields all the way down into the core of the earth. Giving thanks to you, Mother Earth. Thank you, Pachamama. Thank you, Gaia. Thank you for holding us. Thank you for your compassion and your stability and your ability to help us live however we choose to live. You're giving us free will and free reign to create or destroy, to love or not love, to nurture or not. We really just give thanks for the bounty of foundation that you're providing. And we ask to align and harmonize with the natural order of things, how things grow, the abundance that is here for us. May we, each individually and may we as a collective, be at choice and then activate that choice to harmonize with the best possible ways of relating as animals, as humans, as spirits, with everything else that exists. Just asking for my root system today, my energy field to form the proper connection to the core of the earth, and for my body to be aligned with all the elements in harmony. So my people, whoever's watching, whoever's listening here now and who will be listening in the future, this is your invitation to just drop into an actual authentic connection to your own body, your own heart, your own energy field, your own mind and spirit, and just notice what's going on with you today, right here, right now. And as best as you can, be the neutral observer and the witness, and notice where judgment or preference or even attachment to past or future or things not being how you might prefer them to be. Just notice that, and then also allow it to just be placed aside, or offer it even to source, or offer it to earth to be disintegrated so that it's not holding so much of your attention. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for growth. We all are just doing the best we can, hopefully. Sometimes I question that about myself and other people, but ideally we're doing the best we can. And we just deserve some gentleness in that regard. And the paradox is holding space for improvement within that. Like, I'm doing the best I can and I just need a break, and also here are some things that need to be advanced on. So just my invitation to you, and this is a projection on my part because this is something I'm dealing with right now, is just to be this space in your own heart center right now where the polarities of opposites and the polarity of source being enough and source being within us and us being a part of that hold space for then the human linear progression of I'm growing, I'm evolving, I have aspirations, I have desires, I have things that I'm reaching for. Just see if you can allow both those things to coexist in your own heart space, and soften through your breath. And invite all of you, your true authentic self, to resonate with you in your heart space, and ask for grace, ask for the divinity within you, the Holy Spirit, whatever you call on, the Buddha nature, your higher self, to envelop you and all the fragments or the parts of yourself, the lower self, the ego, the not self even, these other things that have collected around your consciousness or kind of grafted themselves onto your mind. Even the mind itself, allow all of that to just come into the heart and settle for a moment. And the way to settle it is just to breathe in and out of the heart space. There's nowhere to go, nothing to do, nothing to prove, just a state of allowance. The paradox is we live in a continuum of time and space where evolution is happening. And then beyond the linear progression of what we're doing here, there's just this beingness, this isness, this energy of creative potential and allowance. Let's tune in together to the aspect of the divine that is at choice to incarnate as each of us and is excited about what it will choose to do as each of us with life itself. And invite any of the fragments of our own consciousness that can't see themselves that way or can't be in alignment with that to consider that they can also inhabit that perspective, that the creator within and throughout all things is just excited and in love with itself and life, and that love and that option is always available to anyone who wants to choose to align with it or not, because we have free will. So the invitation here now is to just find whatever connection to true love you can, and not the human misunderstood love that is emotional attachment, but the transcendent unconditional love that really is beyond words, but is a frequency. And if you haven't felt that, or you don't have a connection to it, then just make a prayer right now for your heart, your body, your mind, your soul to be attuned to true love from the perspective of the creator within and throughout all things, from the true fabric of what that energy is in you and in creation. Just ask to be granted permission to know that for yourself somatically, kinesthetically, emotionally, psycho-spiritually, in the simplest ways, in an embodied way. Just asking for more love for ourselves and each other to come into the space. May all beings everywhere have access to the love that is deep and real and abiding. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the channeling now. Thank you all for joining. We come through this channel at this time in the space that has been created by each of you who are witnessing, and also who are present in your own bodies, in your own meditation, holding a collective field through this space of the digital technology, through these recording devices and through the Instagram platform. And we bless and augment the wavelengths of energy that come through this platform as a result of us being here together, meaning you human beings in embodiment with your connection to your true self, and then us as your angelic guides coming through, channeling messages that you are vibrationally calling for through the law of attraction. You are showing up to receive guidance and reflection. We are then reading and looking at what your own higher selves are reflecting to us to reflect back to you. So there's an interface or an exchange where light is just being refracted and reflected back and forth so that you can remember who you are, so that we can remember who we are together. And the highest levels, or the more comprehensive or all-inclusive vantage point of multidimensional reality, there is only one life and one presence that all of us are a part of, playing different roles in the metaverse, in the universe, in creation, and seeking to have an experience of creativity within creation and expression and connection, but then also to integrate the disparate parts of the self so that they can harmonize with that larger entity that is the one force of love that integrates all things. So we speak often of this paradox of separation and duality or polarity versus oneness and integration with all that is. And that construct, the idea that there is a paradox or there is a separation, in and of itself creates a certain quagmire or stalemate where you as human beings feel like, well, we are having the experience of being in physical bodies with emotions and thoughts that are our own, that are isolated. But what we wish to relate to you is that that sense of isolation and separation is just a mental idea and a construct. It is like a dreamscape where you are in a mode of perpetuating the idea that you were separate, but actually in reality there are these other layers just outside that dreamscape that you're in that have you being the dream itself, have you being everything else that you think you're relating to as a separate being, and also have you being able to dream the dream of separation. And so you can choose within this paradox to extract yourself or wake up inside that dream and make space for the other parts of yourself multidimensionally to interface with the part of you that is just the human that's saying, oh, woe is me. I have my feelings, I have my thoughts, and I have my karma, and I have my things that I'm suffering. And make space for you to have that aspect be real, but also not be the only story that you tell yourself or the only aspect of your life. And now we hear many of you calling out, well, what am I supposed to do with this information in my daily life? How do I apply this to, what relevance does this have for me and my suffering and my day-to-day experience? And the relevance that it has for each of you is that your attachment to your personal identity and sense of separateness is like a chain that has a peg in it that is anchoring you to a fixed location in an omnidirectional metaverse where you could be traveling and having all sorts of different experiences if you would just break the chain off or unlock it or melt it or give it away. And you must individually, and the channel is included in this, he is not exempt from what we are offering you, is that you must look at your identity complexes, meaning your gender, race, class, even what you believe yourself to be as a species. And it's time to allow that to deconstruct, because the way it has been formed historically and even the way that that has informed your genetic inheritance has you perpetuating a dream of separation that is actually so limiting that it is almost a waste of life force to keep perpetuating it. Now, on one level in society, you are going to be related to as a man, as a woman, as someone of a certain demographic, but you have to be able to hold that is a plane where certain constructs and mentalities exist, and then also hold space for the larger perspective that source has, where it is everything and it is you playing the role that you're playing within society's constructs of identity. But there's actually more to it than that. And this grander perspective that we're inviting you to give yourself permission to explore can seem crazy making, in the sense that if you let go of your personal identity and you dissociate from who you are as individuals, then what do you do and what is the purpose of anything? And this threshold of disintegrating the I, who I am, is it's a part of your personal awakening that you have to cross through. And so it is important for you to invite the I am presence, that is the aspect of your soul that is awakened in this present moment, to its true nature. But it is not under the illusion of separation being the total experience. It is just aware of its individuation in the moment, and that on this dimensional plane you are incarnating in a body on a timeline that really is bound by the dream construct of separation. But then just beyond that dimension, there are all these other realms in the unseen and in the general soup of creation that are holding you and that are available to be related to, as well as your individual self. It's a both and. We're not telling you to completely dissociate and live all the time in the I'm just one with everything and I have nothing to do. Because indeed, each of you who are incarnate here in a body, in a DNA lineage, with a human vehicle and a vessel, have a specific purpose or a reason for being in your incarnation. It may be karmic resolution of things that are related to your family line or your DNA lineage, or it may be an objective that you have to dispense information, creative output that will be received by other souls in embodiment on the timeline. It may be just to actually be an observation of currents and things that are changing in the world without needing to personally interfere or change the currents. The myriad of different people's individual purposes and vantage points from their I am's perspective is what makes life unique and beautiful. It is the I am within you, the witness, the neutral observer, that can envelop you in its own neutrality and love in a way that enables you to have your human experience and move through and even transmute the karma or the suffering with that 0 point or that still witness that is not swayed by the intensities. It is just observing and loving you through the experience. Now, our invitation is to get you to observe that there is that dimension of yourself and welcome it to integrate into your crown chakra, into your third eye, throat, and integrate into your heart now. Imagining that the light of your true presence is just descending into your own heart, and now it is moving down into your solar plexus, your womb, your sacral chakra, your base chakra, and the minor chakras in your hips and knees and feet. And that the light of your true self is recalibrating your DNA at this time. And in this moment of choosing to align with your I am presence, if you choose to, then you can repeat these words. I, in this ever-present moment of now, choose to align with the true nature of who and what I am. As a multidimensional being, as a human being, and as a force of nature, incarnate. I allow the totality of who I am to be integrated with the Creator within me's perspective of who I am as an incarnate being. I allow my disparate aspects of self to be integrated with the Creator's idea of who I am. I allow the lower self, the middle self, and the higher self to function as one continuum. I allow my shadow, my light, my dark, my positive, my negative, my neutral to cohere and integrate in this now. I allow all parts of myself to come into harmony with one another so that they are at peace. I allow all parts of myself to adhere to the one perspective of unconditional love. I allow healing to take place in my heart. I allow healing to take place in my body. I allow healing to take place in my DNA. I command the flow of right action. I command the flow of right living. I command the flow of my attention and my awareness to center itself in my heart, and I align my mind with my heart. I align my body with my heart. I align my soul with my heart. And in this space, I invite the source within me and the source within all things to transmute and transform anything that is not in alignment with my highest good that I have held on to. Any environmental influences, any empathic absorptions, any ancestral inheritances, any collective conscious or unconscious inheritances from the human species or other species that are not in alignment with my highest good, I disintegrate and disengage from. And I call upon the violet flame of freedom and forgiveness and transmutation to augment my auric field so that there is only space for the one life and the one source and its unique incarnation as me to embody now. There is only space inside my being for the one life and the one source of true love to incarnate here now. All false ideas of separation, of lack and limitation, of endless suffering are replaced in this moment with my heart and my soul's true knowing of my authentic connection to God, to life, to the universe, and to the benevolent activity that exists in me. I close all doors, all pathways, all parallel realities or timelines that would divest attention from this still place inside me, and I welcome all parts of myself home into the heart. All parts of myself, the true authentic self that I am, are here now. And we integrate together as one being, aligned with the one life, giving thanks for the opportunity to heal in this way, asking for the healing to continue beyond this point of meditation, and allowing the healing to unfold throughout the lines of time and space. And in closing this affirmation and this meditation that we are guiding you to embody, we want each of you now to invite your individual guides, your master teachers, your ascended ancestors, the plant, animal, and mineral spirits that are your teachers, your allies, to join you in this heart space, asking them to help you on your continued journey of self-healing, of self-nurturing, of self-mastery. Make a prayer at this time for your individual ascension process and awakening process to be nurtured, to be stabilized, to be grounded, and for you to have the endurance to adhere to the changes that need to happen within you, and also the actions that you need to take to be a vibrational match to the energy that is elevating and raising the frequency on the planet that is really not a match for things that are less than loving. Make a prayer for your capacity to love yourself completely, to increase, and offer that love to the parts of yourself that you'd rather not look at or deal with, but that are parts of you that need to be loved, accepted, integrated, transformed. Know that you would not be hearing these words of affirmation and invitation if you did not have the capacity to be the crucible of transmutation and alchemy. You are that crucible. Your heart is the container. Your I am presence will be the light that guides you through everything that you need to do, and will be the attraction field for the support that you might need from external sources of guides or healers or financial resource or compatriots or collaborators. Take a moment in this silence to make an authentic prayer for your life, and then we're going to open up for questions and answers. Alrighty, thank you for joining me in the field. I am in my feelings today. I don't know if it's apparent, but all of these transmissions are just so, for me, just as much as they are for you all. So just know that, anyone listening. All right, so let's see. We have some questions. Raina Sacred Birthkeeper says, any insight for me in the shift in my purpose to work with death? All right, I'm going to let them come through for you, Raina. Bless your life. The shift of life purpose to work with death is one that requires courage, and you have that courage, or else you would not be seeking to move in this direction. For you personally, there are versions of yourself throughout the lines of time that you need to integrate into a council where they advise you about how to do this. So some of these versions of yourself are doulas, death doulas, that have stewarded people through the life and death transition, and as a profession in other timelines. And you can, in this version of yourself, integrate them in a council, in a ceremonial space where you ask for them to transmit the wisdom of their lifespans and what they accumulated in their incarnations, so that you can be updated with that wisdom as you carry it forward and you learn the new way to do that that is appropriate for this timeline. You have done this work before, is what we are saying, and you do not have to recreate the wheel, in the sense that other versions of you have mastered or developed a certain level of mastery with that, and you can ask for them to be guides for you as you step into it. And then, obviously take mentorship from people who are currently doing this work at a high level and high capacity of integrity. Mentor with someone who is an elder who can teach you of the ways. This is a deep shamanic path of healing, and it is underrepresented, underappreciated, and it is something that you will be pioneering and stewarding for people who don't even understand that there needs to be a process of dying consciously, dying with intention, and leaving the mortal vessel and transitioning into spirit as a conscious being of photonic light who is ascending from the realms of incarnation into the realms of spirit at choice. It is a deep, deep work that you do, and we advise you personally to reach out for mentorship and guidance and align with someone who can hold your hand and walk you through the process of learning to walk other people through the process of that transition and all that requires. And then first and foremost, always be clear within yourself about what you need to do to nurture your own life and death process. Meaning that when you do this work of doula work, or this midwifing people through their transition, karmically you set up for yourself the opportunity to be nurtured through your transitions and your many deaths that you will have in this one incarnation, and then ultimately the last breaths that you will have. Not that that needs to be your reason for doing the work that you're doing. Obviously, it is more than that, but karmically, it is a great service and it is needed. So get the support from those people that you can identify in that field that are doing it, and see if they are willing to take you on as an apprentice. And it will come with its challenges and its joys and its beauty, and there will be extreme potential for you to understand the depths and the workings of the human soul at a level that is beyond what the average person would even be able to relate to, but you will then be able to communicate in certain ways. Some of those depths, often not through words, because especially with English pales to grasp the profundity of some of these altered states that people like yourself are interfacing with in consciousness. And you, as someone who will steward people through their life transition, you will be empathically navigating these thin veils between the worlds that happen in that open up when someone's soul is unraveling or disengaging from being attached to or physically incarnate in one body. It is powerful work. And our advice to you, first and foremost, is to take care of your own health and well-being and your own energy hygiene, so that you don't get swept into other people's life and death transitions in a way where you lose contact with your own Sushumna, your own grounding cord, and your own personal trajectory and timeline of what your lifespan is according to your own dharma. So when you are a death doula, there's a lot of portals that you're navigating with people who are moving between worlds, and a lot of spirits and ancestral energies. So you need to really be clear and sovereign in your own constitution and your own auric vibration, so that as you are holding the doors open between worlds and ushering beings in and out of space, you are not necessarily absorbing so much of the impact of that. Or if you do absorb it, you have a process of clearing, cleansing, grounding yourself and coming back to yourself. So there really needs to be, again, mentorship for you, so that your teachers can tell you what to do and what not to do, what practices to employ, so that you do not cause yourself harm trying to help in this way. Thank you for your service and your intention, and best of luck to you in these endeavors. All right, Fallen Adam has a question. How do I relocate myself and find the right space to move into and manifest it financially? For you to relocate yourself requires you to do the inner work of commitment to a a source of income that can be sustainable for you, even if it is a short-term commitment to work for the exchange of value of money so that you can cover your expenses. And there is an inner work process of integrating the parts of the self that do not want to have that responsibility or work a job that isn't necessarily your chosen career path or your life purpose or the highest expression of your self-actualization as it is related to career. So you are in a phase of your life where you want to be in career, and then what you need to do to bring in financial resources are not aligned in the sense that you can just automatically do exactly what you are designed to do and have that be making the amount of money that you need to sustain yourself in society. And this is a conundrum or a challenge that many artists and healers and beings struggle with. And it boils down to, one, on the inner level, self-worth, and then also just on the outer level, on the practical level, a willingness to do things that you do not want to do so that you can eventually do what you do want to do. And this is going to require you to say yes to opportunities to make money just for the sake of making money, to fund your life and your livelihood, living where you are going to choose to live. So the inner piece of inner alchemy is alignment with the shadow parts of the self, or the younger parts of the self that are committed to irresponsibility for themselves because they would rather someone else take care of them. And then on the flip side of that, you loving and nurturing those parts of the self, but then reparenting them and saying, we have to get on with some things that you may not want to do. And that's a part of maturation and growing up. And I'm willing to do that so that I can create the kind of home, the kind of lifestyle that is going to ultimately nurture and support me. And that's a process of doing the grunt work of showing up on a day-to-day level to some sort of task or commitment that then pays. And so you have to reparent those parts of yourself that are not wanting to take that responsibility. And you can do that reparenting work, and it can be a process that is ongoing. It doesn't have to be a definitive day where you suddenly resolve all of that. It's just a process of you actually connecting in the heart with those younger aspects of the self that are like, no, we don't want to. And saying, yeah, I hear that, and we still have to live, so we're going to do these things, and I'm going to need you to just accept that. And so you're going to have to father these parts of the self that are in resistance. And then on the law of attraction level, as you're generating the will force to find the job, find the place, things will align. You just have to make a list of things that you are looking for in an exchange for value situation with work, and a living situation that is ideal. And also be open to steps of manifestation, meaning that you might have your vision of like what is ideal, and then what you need to take, or the step that you need to be in on the way to manifesting that might look different than what the ultimate perfect outcome is. But know that you're still moving towards that higher vision, and that there's work on the ground and inner work inside yourself that allows you to manifest and step by step get there. So it is just essentially you doing some calculations and budgeting around how much money do I need to make to live in this environment and at the way that I want to live comfortably? And then what am I willing to do or not willing to do to make that amount of money, and how frequently do I need to do that activity or work and exchange for value to meet that target? It's just a balancing. And so the inner work of reparenting, the aspects that in many ways psychically can pull you back from just getting on with what you need to do. That's the daily practice of self-nurturing and, pulling yourself up into the new commitment. And that is not always easy work to do, but when you come from a place of true manhood and love and nurturance as a responsible father to these aspects of yourself, then they get to follow your lead. Don't let them run the ship of your life. Choose to, out of love, budget, have the target of what you're aiming for, and then move towards what you can do in the interim while you're going towards that aim, and accept that the universe really has your back. And if you were clear about what you were asking for, and especially around monetary needs and a type of job that's in alignment with what you want to be giving your energy and your time to, you can manifest it. It's just a matter of choosing that and being stalwart in your affirmation and your focus of that attention, and then asking in your community, asking in your network, and maybe moving into situations that are not absolutely the pinnacle in the interim on the way to what is ideal. That is our advice to you at this time. And also you will be served by working with fire ceremonially to communicate with the fire and conjure the fire energy to transmute, clear, and then also focus and shine light on what you are determining, and then moving forward there. Also, you may want to utilize mantra meditation and affirmation in a name it to claim it kind of way, where you can hear yourself affirming, I am doing this. I have the energy to do this. I have the attraction field to do this. I have the resources in abundance. It's flowing to me. I am disciplined and determined, and things always work out for me, and I'm always taken care of in the ways that I need to be, and I take care of myself in the way that I need to. And so it is. So that practice will help you. Alrighty. For some reason, the question section seems to be eclipsing, or okay, here's another one. I finally came up. Angels, this is from I Am Atasieā. Angels, how do we address the powers putting other groups' needs before Indigenous POC here in the USA? The powers that be putting other people's needs before Indigenous people and people of color in the USA is a karmic construct that different soul groups are playing out over time here, that have its resolution far out in the future beyond your personal lifespan, and the period of time that you all are living in that trajectory or the arc of that karmic resolution is akin to a civil rights movement time period, and it will determine how those resolutions occur. And the most important thing for people of color and indigenous people to do is, one, have their sovereignty and free will intact as spiritual agents of source that will not adhere to the tyranny of systems of domination or control that would try to set up false hierarchies based on race, class, or even corporate identities of things being like corporations having human rights that then actual human beings don't have. And there needs to be the individual sovereignty of people of color doing the inner work to reawaken the inner worth, the self-love that has to be built when one is a person in a body, in a society that is constantly attacking and trying to undermine that person's sovereignty or that self-worth. So that is something that people of color need to do in their own bodies and in spaces that are safe with one another, and have processes of self-nurturing and self-care. And then that work that is being done like as a spiritual sustenance will lend itself to then the activism or the political affiliations or the monetary investments or the coalitions that need to be built intersectionally with people of all races and classes and creeds who actually just agree with equanimity and can see that there are systemic forms of oppression that are actually targeting certain groups. The groups that are being targeted have certain keys in the DNA that are very powerful. And when those keys and things are unlocked and activated, they move in opposition to forces that want to create false hierarchies and harvest human life and harvest resources at the expense of the natural order of things. So this dance of tyranny and the destruction and the warfare and the attack of the indigenous people and people of color and whatnot, it is a construct that is playing out, and the individuals who are in it need to choose to change the script of how it affects them personally. So this goes back to what we were speaking to at the beginning of the transmission with paradox. On one level, you are one with all that is, and on another level, you are an individual in a identity in a society with things happening. People of color specifically need to be able to hold that both and consciousness, and then have sharp and swift capacities to set boundaries in a loving way, which might also be fierce, and also not be so polarized and so identified with the skin suit technology that you've chosen to incarnate in that you lose track of the fact that this is all a matrix. And so you can simultaneously take yourself seriously and your lineage and your heritage and the codes and the magnificence of your DNA with reverence, but don't be transfixed by the identification with the form. Utilize the form, utilize the vehicle, celebrate the identity, but don't allow the chess game of black versus white or even dark versus light to trap you in a system of suffering that is actually just designed to go for as long as it can so that entities can harvest the suffering. So we don't have a finite answer to your question that is the one fell swoop of solving racial and social justice issues. We will acknowledge that there are interest groups that are seeking to control humanity, that want to generate the construct of white supremacy as a vehicle to target and cause harm to other groups on the planet. Those interests and what do you call them? The entities that it possess people to behave that way, their time is up. And they know it. And they are functioning like a rabid animal on it that's caged and backed into a corner because they know that their time is up. So the attacks and the craziness will become more extreme as those things are actually being exterminated and exorcised off the timeline. And so the final thing that we wish to say about all of that is that the tyranny cannot continue to exist forever, but it has a linear time frame of being extinguished, and you must personally choose what your involvement in activism or social justice is and what that needs to look like in terms of money, time, energy, investment, or how you hold that space of awareness, and then also what parts of it you just give to source to allow the resolution to not be your personal responsibility, even though you have a personal stake in it because of your identity. This is true for all people, whether you identify as white, black, you are mixed race. The soul family lineages of humanity are so much more powerful than you all have been led to believe. And then the DNA lineages of humanity are all related to each other, but have been pitted against each other by, again, forces that are not even human, that would possess you to try to almost like be the snake eating its own tail. So you must really extract yourself from that chicken fight that multidimensional beings have humanity in, whilst being on the ground in the system and saying no to racism and inequality, and doing what you can to create the justice that you want to see happen in your personal experience and in the world. It's going to take some time, and there will be some major advancements in this decade. But when you take steps forward, there will be pushback from the system, and you have to stay in your strength with your own spiritual practice and your own faith and your own relationship with the Creator to know that you will be delivered from an incessant struggle, but you actually live on the timeline of the resolution, and it is just a wave that has to crash and move through. And so you will be best served personally to create spaces where people who are impacted by these things can grieve, heal, and be inspired and nurtured, rather than just being in the echo chamber of what the system itself wants you to be traumatized by. Well, I'm gonna leave it there because it's been over an hour. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for your questions, be they transpersonal things like the last one, or even personal questions that other people might be able to relate to, because we're all human, and there's a certain little color wheel of human things that we go through with life and living in the world that we all live in. So Ray is putting my email in the chat, Atasieā, my name, at gmail.com. If you'd like to make a Venmo or PayPal donation for this weekly service, I really appreciate the financial support to support my livelihood and live indoors. Um, I am Atasieā says, I appreciate you and your time and your personal commitment. Thank you for the recognition. Just in all honesty, some days I really don't want to do this transmission. I'm moving on guidance. I have a relationship with the angels that has been developed for over a decade and have often just been sitting on correspondences from them. And during the pandemic last year, they were like, it's time for you to start serving the community by sharing this information because it's not just for you, it's for everyone. And I was like, I don't really like Instagram, and Tuesday's supposed to be my day off, and they're like, we don't care. It's Tuesday at 11. It's the best time. Do it. So here I am, but I just often am just dragging myself onto these lives. So thank you for the support and acknowledgement. It does help encourage me to keep going, and I will be back, inshallah, next Tuesday. Like around about 11, between 11 and 11:11 to 12 or 12:12, that window of time. All right. Love y'all. Live your best life. Stay strong, stay prayerful, and we will get through this. All right. Peace.